And we knew it wasn't over. Everybody on the sideline dapping each other up and keeping each other up because we know we finna get this ball back. Our defense finna give us this ball back. We finna go score. We finna do it again. And that's what we just did. So I think having that mindset on the sideline helped us a little bit go out there and really do it. We go block for the running backs, how they block for us in the pass protect. It like go hand in hand. It's just part of football. We just help our brothers out. It's just somehow we do it. You don't see a lot of teams moving like that. You don't see a lot of receivers in the league going to block for the running backs, blocking down the field, 40 yards down the field, 60 yards down the field. But you're going to see the Lions doing it for sure.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, talking Lions, Bears. It's J-Mo time. Let's talk about Jameson for a second, because
he sounds completely different.
He does, and that's
his whole tone.
That's a real thing. Like the confidence level J-Mo's playing with, but more than that, guys, the coaches tried to tell you. They talked about this man all week. So that's the first hint I got is, the coaching staff. What did Dan say? He's always a part of the pack. The players are starting to trust him. His snaps have been increasing over the last couple of weeks. Guys, it's there. Like they're starting to fully trust Jameson Williams, and he's starting to get more and more involved. And I'm sick of this conversation because I hate it. I'm sick of arguing this man's talent. We know he's talented. If you watch Jameson Williams, you know he's talented. You see it. You see it. If you watch Jameson, if you have two eyeballs, you could see he's talented. The game-changing speed, that was on display. You saw that. I mean, they needed a score. Okay, let's dial up a play. Instant score, one play, touchdown, Jameson Williams. You see it. It's there. The Lions needed a score. That score ended up being the difference. It wasn't the game winner, but ultimately that was the difference. Him scoring a touchdown on a play where the Bears knew they needed a touchdown. That's the player Jameson Williams is. St. Brown, and by the way, literally, his number was called upon because St. Brown told him in the huddle before, get ready, the ball's going to you. And most people would say, well, he's supposed to drop it. No, he caught it.
Come on.
He caught it. Three targets, 2 catches. So, again, that's a pretty good, I would say, if we're talking percentages of targets versus catches, that's a pretty good percentage, 2 of 3. I would just say so. But regardless, how important are touchdowns? I think they're pretty important. You're trying to outscore your opponent every single week. You outscore your opponent. That's how you win in the National Football League. Correct. That's what matters. And you have Jameson Williams, who's 22 years old. 22. 11 catches in his NFL career with, again, limited snaps, but still snaps. He hasn't played a ton of snaps, but, again, he's been out there from time to time. He doesn't start, but you see him implemented throughout the ball game there. 11 catches. 3 touchdowns. And I know you hate this, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, Sam Flannel. 11 catches, 3 touchdowns, but you could also bring up the 2 other ones that were called back. And I'm going to do it. That way, let's just play fantasy. Let's just play fantasy land for a second. Let's just pretend. Let's just say those 2 didn't get called back. And I know they did. They did get called back, so it's not in the stat sheet. But let's just say we saw him score those other 2. One at Green Bay, one against the Chargers. That would be 13 catches, 5 touchdowns. That's his NFL career so far. 13 catches, 5 touchdowns. 38% of his catches go for touchdowns.
All right.
That's what if those 2 didn't get called back. Right now in his career, of course, 11 catches, 3 TDs. That's the player you have right now, Sam Flannel, and the coaching staff trusts him. And I'm telling you, this is the start of kind of the turning point of Jameson Williams' career. You see the play, you see the explosiveness, you see all that, the talent. And I'm telling you, I said this about Jared Goff. He has to trust you. And he's starting to even trust Jameson Williams more and more, and he's getting implemented into the offense a lot more. So credit to Jameson Williams, credit to him, and credit to Goff and those 2 for their finding ways, and Ben Johnson to give him the football, and he's making plays. So, again, I love everything I'm seeing out of Jameson Williams, everything.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to look at the numbers a little bit differently. But you guys are going to like this, I promise. I'm going to look at the biggest number on this season when it comes to Jameson Williams as 2. Those are the touchdowns that Jameson Williams has scored, and those were 2 of the bigger plays that the Lions offense has made all season. And I'm going to give him his flowers today because at that moment, I know I still thought that the Lions had a chance to win yesterday, but once Jameson Williams caught that touchdown and they cut the lead to 5 with about 3 minutes left, that was the moment where I think even the fans were just like, wow, the Lions are going to win this game. And Jameson Williams made the big play. He provided that explosive element, that long touchdown, because at some point when there's not as much time left on the clock, you need to make chunk plays, and Jameson Williams and the catch on the pass from Jared Goff made the ultimate chunk play, and I got to give him his flowers. I think this season, the way that he's going to be used is he's going to be kind of that home run hitter. He's not going to make a ton of catches. He's not going to have a lot of yards, but some of the catches that he does make, some of the plays that he does make are some of the biggest plays of the season, of the game, and that's what he has shown so far this year. So credit to Jameson Williams. If you think today I'm going to come in and be like, and say something snarky or anything like that, this isn't the day for it, because
It'll be tomorrow.
No, come on. It'll probably be for this whole week. Well, you know what, though, Lucas?
Until given another reason. How about that?
And that's a good point, because what Jameson Williams is doing while making multiple huge plays is he's building up even equity with somebody like me. I've seen how valuable he's been to this team this year. I think some people have overrated him a little bit, but at this point, there's nothing I can really say. He's made big plays when the Lions have needed him to make big plays, and the Lions are 8-2. So at this point, again, I have earned the right to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
I have,
and that's the reason why I bring it up.
Flannel.
It's in the whole thing about JMO though, Sam, too, is his floor is just catching bombs for TDs. Like that's what I believe his floor is. It's these 32. He had caught a 32-yard touchdown pass, but catching these long throws down the field, catching a touchdown pass. That's like his floor. There's so much more there with JMO, I think. Like, from, short, intermediate, deep, I think he's more of a complete receiver, but we just haven't seen it. And I think that if you have a floor of catching, again, counting two called back TDs, 13 catches, 5 TDs scored, 38% of the time you're in the end zone when you catch the football. Like, yeah, that's pretty good, I would say. Like, that's why I'm trying to explain why people are excited about this dude. It's not about, we're JMO bots, and there are people maybe that defend this man blindly, but, like, the data is right in front of us.
See.
Like, even, okay, let's go without callback. 11 catches, 3 TDs. Like, you see it. You see the plays. When he touches the football, things happen, Lucas.
Yeah, and another thing is, too, is like, why I was, and a lot of people with me were getting so frustrated when we talked about his usage is because if you just go back and look at his game log right now, against Carolina, he had 3 targets, caught 2 of them, so 2 or 3 targets. The one that he dropped was that suicide slant. Now, if you want to blame it on him, I'm not going to hold you to it because it hit your hands. You should catch it. Against Tampa Bay, where he had a huge, crucial touchdown catch, he had 3 targets, caught 2 of them. The missed target was that, like, it was going up the sideline. It was kind of the wheel route that it was just kind of an awkward play. It was more of a chemistry thing. And then against Baltimore,
right,
6 targets, 0 catches. So that is one game that I can't even blame you. If you want to put it on JMO, go ahead. You want to put it on Goff, go ahead. It was just a bad game from the team overall. Against Vegas, 3 targets, 2 catches. Against the Chargers last week, 2 targets, 2 catches. And then yesterday, 3 targets, 2 catches. So this whole thing about, well, you throw him the ball, he's not giving you the opportunity. No. Every time, most of the games you throw him the ball 3 times, he's going to catch it twice at the bare minimum. Now, if you give him just absolutely perfect balls, he might catch all 3 of them. But Jameson Williams is the whole drops thing. I understand it, but that's why it's just like give this man time. Let him go. Like yesterday, the last play of the game in the red zone at the 1-yard line.
Right.
Jameson Williams was out there. They trust this man now, so his production is just going to keep going up because if you really just go back and look, it's not as bad as people have been making it out to seem.
Yeah, and that's in a couple of these comments. I'm going to go to the people. K Boogie says JMO's averaging 16 yards per catch in his career. Shot says most wide receivers don't even bother blocking on run plays. Hoof Hard, it says JMO has potential, so much damn talent and potential. To those of us that see it, he seems inevitable to us. And the thing I want to mention too about JMO, and you mentioned it, Lucas, and again, I'm kind of weaving in and out of these stats, but I'm going to do it again. In the Baltimore Ravens game, he had 6 targets, 0 catches. On the year, he has 10 catches and 20 targets. That game accounted for about almost half of his targets. If that 6-target game, I know we're doing it again, but technically without that Ravens game, he's 14 targets, 10 catches.
That's what I'm saying.
So, that's not bad. Now, it was a bad
majority
game.
of them are deep shots, too, are low percentage, opportunities, and he's not going to catch every one of them, no
So, even the drop argument, they've happened. It's happened.
There.
But he's not he doesn't have the worst hands in the NFL.
No,
that's my point.
No.
Not Nelson Aguilar.
No, but here's the thing. You're doing something again, which is kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. I know this is the JMO praise day, and I gave him a lot of praise. So if you take out the Baltimore game and you count his touchdowns that were called back, then he's You see
No,
what I'm
it's
saying?
it's just context. I'm trying to,
I
like,
understand.
for example, I mean, like, he can't motivate Taylor Decker to block better. So,
Sure.
and of course, I'm going to bring up the TD. Or against Green Bay, it was 2 holding calls. I can't tell him to motivate his offensive line. You know what I mean? So I'm just bringing up him scoring, and it didn't count. Like, that's all I'm doing. It's not like J-Mo scored and had an OPI, and then I'm like, well, if he didn't push the guy off, he would have. No, he scored, but the offensive line was a holding call. Like, it's not his control. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's still 11 catches, 3 TDs. If we're counting 2, that because of holding calls, it'd be, 13 catches, 5 TDs. I'm making it clear. I'm making it known that I am adding in 2 uncalled or called back TDs. But I think that matters.
Well, okay, so
That matters.
I don't think it matters, but let me say this. I don't think callback touchdowns matter at all, but he is getting to the point where if he keeps making more plays, like the one he made yesterday, like the one he made against Tampa Bay, if he keeps doing that as the season goes along and he's already starting to do that, then we're not going to think about the called back touchdowns. We're going to think about plays that actually counted for points and actually counted on the stat sheet and actually counted towards wins. And Jameson Williams, I think he'll probably make a few more as the season goes along. I think for this year, he's not going to be that superstar, but he is going to be I would say, a hired gun, if that makes sense.
He'll learn. He's learning. That's why, like,
Sure.
Yes.
when Jeff and I say these things, I think it's important to remember, like, you're not if Keenan Allen was doing these things, you're not saying that about Keenan Allen right now just because he's a veteran wide receiver that's been in the league for a while. But Jameson Williams,
He's 22 years old.
You could use any wide receiver, not Keenan Allen. But at the same point, a veteran wide receiver, you're not saying the same thing. But the fact is, there's just not that much to show with Jameson Williams, and the fact that he's this talented, that you got to find some way to be able to, like, realize when people are like, no, this kid's washed. Like, no, this kid is very good, and that's the way you kind of pry it apart, where it's like people just talk about his hands all the time. He can't catch anything. He doesn't have the best hands, but now people just bash Jameson Williams like the man can't catch a cold half the time, and that's not true. And if you want to use the Baltimore game, go for it. But that's a quarterback and wide receiver issue in that game. There could have been a pass that Jameson Williams could have caught, but there could have been a ball.
Brown dropped a ton of balls in that game. I mean, he still played well, but still, like, that game was just garbage.
Yeah, and it's like you take that garbage game from the whole team. Do it for everybody. Jameson Williams, 10 for 14 on targets. Is that really that bad? No, it's not. So it's just that's another thing to be optimistic about and showing you that this kid has true promise.
Yeah,
and I think that's where me and you disagree is, like, the called back TDs. Of course they don't count. Of course they don't count in the stat sheet. But, like, to me they matter because he was in the end zone. Like, that's how I look at it. Now, I'm not going to look at the end of his career and tack on 2 more TDs.
You sure
to his
about
career.
that, Jeff? You sure about
Yes,
that?
I am sure about that, Sam. But when a guy with limited opportunity, it matters more for a guy. If St. Brown, we're not going to remember every callback TD because he is involved every single week. It doesn't matter. But Jameson's sample size is so small, I think the callback TDs, it's fair to bring them up if you're making a case for J-Mo right now. Because the sample size is so small.
Sure, but I want to see that sample size get bigger.
Of course.
Over time it will.
But can you see why I'm bringing it up? Sam, he was in the end zone. Like, we saw the same thing. It was just called back.
Oh, and that's just
And
where
I know it doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but it still counts. Like, if you're looking at a player and you're like, yeah, he scored a touchdown, it was just called back, I can't be like, well, he gets no credit, and he that doesn't even matter, and it's out of my memory, and I forgot about it. No, the Green Bay game last year, he scored. It was a deep shot, and he scored, but it was a holding call. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's where we disagree. Is like you're like, well, I forget that out of my memory. Like, I don't. He's scored technically 2 more times. It was just called back.
I know, but yesterday he scored and it helped them win, and against Tampa Bay he scored and it counted and it helped them win. Those are the plays, and I know we're like kind of arguing with a brick wall at this point. Those are the plays to me that matter, and I'm giving him a lot of credit for making them. I'm hoping that by the end of the year, maybe in the next couple of games, they can get him more consistently involved, and we can stop talking about the called back touchdowns and actual great games, for which, by Jameson Williams' standards and by what this team has needed, he has had 2 of them this year. He has. Even though they haven't been big-time numbers games, he still had a couple of touchdowns, a couple of big explosive plays when the Lions needed him most. I'm giving him credit for that. That's what he is this year. At least that's what he's been.
Yes. When there isn't a holding call, 2 TDs he scored this year, both impacted the game. Is that
hugely impacted those games.
So there you go. We can agree. We can break bread there. But again, you see the potential there. You see the talent, and I'm excited for him. He's upped his snap count over the last couple of weeks. This is a sign. Again, we could argue all day about J-Mo. The guys who get paid to do this professionally, they believe in J-Mo. So, like, who cares what we think? They believe in him, and he's getting an uptime. He's getting an uptick in snaps, which is important for this offense. We talk about it with Ben Johnson's offense.
To be an elite,
yes,
top-tier offense, it's crucial.
To earn critical snaps is crucial. Like Khalif having the career he's had in Detroit. Like these guys, if you could block, if you're disciplined, if you run the right routes, you do everything you're supposed to do, you'll get the rock. And J-Mo's been getting the rock. That's just how it is. All right, let's head to break here. When we come back, we'll talk about this backfield because I think you have to talk about it.